Hello, welcome to Driven It to the Movies. Today I'm going to tell you about a little problem I have with this old car being anthromorphic, which means mind of his own, personality of his own, you know, as we've seen in the films, buggers off, does what he's got to do, you know, because he's a little bit naughty. However, you are, aren't you? Yes, you see, he is. But there is a problem, and the more you look into it, the more you go, oh my God. Right? But anyway, more after this. Shh! You see, the problem we have with Herbie being anthromorphic was how it all came about. You see, 1968 was The Love Bug, and we all went, ooh, and it really did help Volkswagen sell a ton of these things. In the US, however, they weren't allowed to show VW signs, that's Walt Disney and stuff, until the next film in 1974. There's a huge gap, 1974, when we had Herbie Rides Again. Now, Herbie Rides Again is fantastic. Helen Hayes plays Mrs. Steinmetz, and she is rather fabulous, fabulous actress. And it is, out of all of the movies, the nicest, the simplest, the most beautiful. But there is a little bit of a dark thing in there, you see, because there's one bit where she says, bear in mind, this is, what, 6 years after The Love Bug, where there's this dark bit where she says about Herbie, he used to be a famous racing car. And then they do a cut scene to Herbie being a racing car. You were, weren't you? Yes, you were. Yes, you were. Enough. Stop. Thank you. Anyway, so she cuts to this scene, and Jim Douglas has buggered off to Europe to drive European cars. As we well know, Jim Douglas is not really a good racing driver. He can't even drive in stock car races. And as we discovered in The Love Bug, it was Herbie here doing all the driving, because then Jim tried to smash him with a bloody shovel. Yes. Anyway, cut to Herbie Rides Again. And there's this one scene where Herbie rallies the troops. And beep, 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 beep. You're not going to do it now, are you? Thank you. Does all the... beeping and rallies the troops. Now, you sort of go, hang on a minute, there's a lot more Volkswagens in San Francisco that are anthromorphic. But hang on a minute, because then we cut to the beautiful wedding at the end of the film. And you go, right, lovely, all these Volkswagens. Did they have that wedding immediately after the next day, which looks like it, or did those Volkswagens just literally litter around by the firehouse? And none of the owners reported to the police that there was a mass stolen ring, whatever you want to call it, of Beetles being stolen that night. I don't know. Anyway, so there's that. But, you know, Herbie Rides Again, lovely film. Stephanie Powers, Mrs. Hart, she's gorgeous. It's a really lovely film, absolutely lovely. And then we cut to 1974, where Herbie goes to Monte Carlo. And Herbie goes to Monte Carlo, we discover that there is another car that is anthromorphic. It is the Lanciabetta Monte Carlo, or Lanciabetta Scorpio, depending on where you are across the pond. So I'm trying to cover everyone, because if you look at my statistics, actually you can't, but I can. I've got people that fuel my shit. I know, in America, in England, sometimes Spain. But yes, there we go. Those are the three main countries. Anyway, where was I? Blah, 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 blah. Yes, so Herbie goes to Monte Carlo and falls in love with this Lancia. Now, admittedly, what Walt Disney did to that Lancia with the pop-up headlights really did make it look like a cold cup of sick, because even with the American bumpers, it really wasn't an unattractive car. And admittedly, I do like what Lancia did when they gave it just the tiniest little pop-ups that went whee, to meet US regulations. Because in England, we had beautiful, Europe I should say, we had beautiful, beautiful, beautiful headlights. But, you know, in America, they had beep. But, yeah, no, they didn't have that in the film. They had these big things that popped up, and it just looked cold cup of sick. Anyway, this Lancia, and I've done something about the age of that Lancia, because this thing is a sexual pervert, sexual predator, should be on a list. You should, shut up. Anyway, yes, this other car was anthromorphic, and you go, hang on a minute, what? Now, it brings me to my next problem of how Herbie became anthromorphic, because it was another film later on, one made for TV. Oh, Jesus Christ, that really was just dog shit. And it really was dog shit. It's dog shit for many, many reasons, and I will probably go through those as well, because I'll go on a rant, you see. But yeah, I will tell you those next. So, indulge me, if you don't mind, while we talk about the Love Bug made for TV. Picture the scene, 1997, and they're trying to revamp any old shit really that they can find. And yeah, because a lot of TV shows and films have always got that remake. They decided to try and remake it. You see, and they called it The Love Bug, made for TV. They didn't actually call it made for TV, but that's what I'm calling it to differentiate between the original from 1968 to this other one, 1997. And I tell you now, it's awful, and in some respects I don't want to talk about it because it is just an awful film. But I shall try. So bear with me, because the road ahead, it could get bumpy. I know. Right. So it stars Bruce Campbell. Now, Bruce Campbell, good-looking actor, averse to horror movies. He was in the Evil Dead franchises, where we all sort of really know him from. And in the engine bay of my own Beetle here, I have little Easter eggs of various bits, and I have a picture of him holding, I think, a gun or a machete or something, just in there. Just, you know, you've got to pay some homage to this film. Oh, I don't want to talk about this film. I know, it's shit. You know it's shit. We all know it's shit. Anyway, so, and also, the visual splendour that is the Volkswagen Beetle is absolutely ruined, and I will show you here the horror, because it is a bit of a horror film. And it is a bit of a horror film, really. What happens to Herbie in the film is also quite horrific. But I'm trying to talk to you about the anthromorphic and how he became it. Anyway, so this is another problem we have with the film. Here's a picture of Herbie at the front. Now, as you will see, it's just, the license plate's in the wrong place. The 53 is too far up the bonnet, and the stripes are wrong. And I tell you now, visually, it is just awful. But anyway, oh, I know. So, give me a moment, I'll come back and we will talk about the film. So indulge me, if you don't mind. Again, picture the scene, 1997, Herbie the Love Bug, made for TV. Now, what they do is they just shatter all that we have learned about Herbie being anthromorphic. Remember, Herbie was one of a kind. That's it, one of a kind. Now, in some respects, this film does show that he was one of a kind. So how all these other Beetles became anthromorphic in Rides Again, and how the Lancia Scorpio, Monte Carlo, wherever you are in the pond, became anthromorphic, we don't know. I mean, it could be, something could be lying, you know, in that zinc chrome metal, the famous zinc chrome metal that Lancia used to ward off rust. That fucking backfired, didn't it? Because it didn't work. Anyway, so the film and how Herbie became anthromorphic. And this is where I've got a real big problem with the film. Also the fact that the storyline is just absolutely dreadful. But this is the thing which, it just gives away what happened. So, Dr. Gustav Stumpfel was brought over to America just after the Second World War, 1945, and was told by the Americans, we want you to make this special car. See, because Stumpfel turned around in the film and said that he was the one, sort of pretty much, that came up with the idea of the people's car. And we know that's bullshit, because it was Ferdinand Porsche and the man that you don't talk about in Germany. Yeah. So, they came up with the car, not Gustav Stumpfel. Anyway, the Americans went, we want you to make a little car, but for some reason they seem to think that he made a car that was alive. Yeah. So, he's made this big vat of molten metal. So, yeah, anyway, he's made this big metal and he's messing around with lots and lots of different alloys and steels and any sort of metal he can find. And still can't make the car. However, in his laboratory, quite haphazardly, he has a picture of his lovely wife, Elsa, I think her name was, in a picture frame. No idea what metal was in this picture frame, but it seemed to be the thing in the picture frame and the love he had for the woman in the picture that fell into the mix. Oh, no, it's fallen into the mix. And then he sort of makes this car in 1945. And the car has a personality, the car is alive. He's finally made this car that's alive. And yeah, doesn't want to let the Americans have it because he's sort of worried that they will use it for bad. So sets this 1945 Volkswagen Beetle free. So he has created the car. And you sort of go, okay, so the picture of his wife fell in the molten mix and that's what's made it alive. So actually, all these years that we've been saying that Herbie is a boy, No, does that not mean that Herbie is now actually female? Because it was a picture of his wife that fell into the molten mix. I don't know. But yeah, and see, and here we have the other thing. So Herbie was a 1945 Volkswagen that he set off free into the world, painted white, when I think 1945 they were all painted black. And you go, okay, yeah, what? 1945, but Herbie was in 1963. Now, I know full well that Volkswagen Beetles, they had a lot of parts that were compatible. VW even made this big whole thing in their advertising that you can swap wings from a 1945 to a 1963 to a 19... forever. Rear window was slightly different, the dashboard was slightly different. Actually, 1963 they had hydraulic brakes. 1945 they had cable-operated brakes. I can tell you now, Herbie was not operated by cable-operated brakes. I said it really quick, didn't I? Yeah, you see, you just go... So that's how Herbie became anthropomorphic. It was Dr. Gustav Stopfel that made this mix that Herbie then became anthropomorphic. So how the fuck did all these other cars become anthropomorphic? You see, and it shatters the whole illusion, because then Jim Douglas is there, isn't he, in the Love Bug, having done some work and gone, tightened up a few nuts and bolts, thinking he's the one that sort of, you know, sorted out the Beetle going a bit crazy, and they make a million cars all the same, one or two turn out to be special. Well, according to Herbie Rides Again, there was a lot of Beetles from the 70s that were anthropomorphic, made very, very special. See, again, you see, I just don't get it. So, there we go. That is how Herbie became anthropomorphic. And, yeah, we still can't tell you how all those other cars became anthropomorphic, but it should only be just one car. So, yeah, huge, huge problems with that film and how they break the taboo, the illusion of how Herbie became that way. It was just a one-off, but and how it came about, yeah. I mean, if you do want to torment yourself, watch the film. It's on YouTube. I think if I can find the link, I'll put the link in the description, and watch it, and comment below if you sort of like the film, don't like the film, or what you find wrong with the film, because I can't bring myself to watch it. Again, I've watched it once, and I was like, yeah, that's enough. Don't need to watch it anymore. The other films, yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I've got to carry on because I've got repairs to do for this thing, because, you know, it's back in the garage. Oh, please. Just stop breaking. Anyway, my dear guy, take care. See you soon. Right, let's get you fixed, you piece of shit. Oh! When you see Herbie in the film Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, no, it's not fucking hell, it's not Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. I'm obsessed now with Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. The Love Bug, made for TV, starring Glenn Campbell. Now, Glenn Campbell, it's not Glenn Campbell, it's Bruce Campbell. Glenn Campbell is a singer. I've written it down on my whiteboard so I can see it from here, which is why if my eyes keep going off over there, I'm going to have to go here so I can sort of look without being... Do you know, I can't bring myself to talk about it. It is a dreadful fucking film. It really is. It's just shocking. This bit's going to have to go in the outtake. It is just awful. The film is... I don't want to talk about it. I really don't. God, it sounds like I've had childhood trauma. I really don't want to talk about that film because it's just awful. It is awful. I'm going to have to do this bit again. GoPro, stop recording.